And we're back for episode 13 already of the Natty Bodybuilding Radio podcast with myself.
What do I introduce you?
No, I think I'd probably introduce myself, wouldn't I? And then you'd introduce yourself. That's the way it should work.
Okay, go on then.
The Bob Waterhouse 86 at Gmail. No, Bob Waterhouse.
Emails.
Here's my email address. So sorry, what was your name?
My name? Some people call me Aaron. 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 Really depends.
So the relegated version of Aaron is Aaron. Aaron.
I normally give people 3 goes to get it right, and then if they don't, I'll just go with Aaron because people can do that.
I go with Aaron. Speaking of email addresses, surely you've got that email address from when you were like 14, right?
I didn't, but I appreciate the kind of story and the kind of idea behind it, but no, I don't.
I've got one.
Go on.
So we went to Richer Sounds once to buy myself a new TV.
Okay.
This must have been when I was 17. First time, flat screens had really come out properly. Yeah. Where they were like, oh, these are sick. All right, okay.
You must have got one immediately because you're the man who can't not have something immediately.
Yeah, say that, but I think that I borrowed 500 quid off my massage therapist, who was a good friend of mine.
Right.
So I could get the TV, basically.
Okay.
Because I needed a TV for my new PS4, PS3 even.
Wow.
Don't think it would have been PS2. We are going back if it is. Yeah. But anyway, moral of the story was we got to the checkout and I was with my mate Lewis McKenna, who used to compete with BNBF, and he's like, "Yeah, can I just take down an email address for your receipt or whatever it was?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's bodybuilding 1986." And my mate just fucking burst out laughing in the shop. He's like, "Bodybuilder 1989?" I was like, fuck's sake.
You must have thought that was so fucking cool. You must have thought that was so cool. Like, oh yeah, this is the absolute shit.
Especially when you're going to work and then it's like, oh, what email address can I get you on? Bodybuilding 1986. All right, yeah. So yeah, that was good. I
could always just use my name. Like it was fine because no one else in the world is called Aaron, spelled the way mine is.
Yeah.
Never had that issue.
17 E's.
Yeah, 17 E's, 5 R's, 3 N's. So it was fine. No one ever had a problem with it. So I was really keen for us to start recording the podcast then before we continued. Podcast, yes, because we started to discuss about our attire and who we were sponsored by this week. I was interested in yours.
Sorry, this is part of the summer wear version again.
Yeah, okay. We've cracked up summer wardrobe.
Because back in the day when Explosive Fibers used to make t-shirts, this would be considered, I guess, in today's money, if you want to call it that. I don't know. Not money. No, wrong thing. Sizing. This would be considered an extra large.
Right.
But it happens to be a medium.
Okay. So it fits like a medium.
When, back in the day, people used to be big.
Right.
So basically everybody's gotten smaller with the introduction of men's physique. Happened.
I was trying to explain this to Chris Edge as well, because he's bought some Gasp swag this week. Each different thing you buy from Gasp is fitted for the type of top it is. So they've got fitted stuff, right? And it tends to be pretty true to size. But you'll remember there was a t-shirt I tried on that was so baggy it looked like a full dress, and that was the double XL. Because it was a genuine double XL. Like this, what I'm wearing now, this top is a double XL, and I mean, I shouldn't be able to fit my shoulders in it and stuff quite comfortably. But this Gasp top was too big. So I've recently got the XL, and that's also big, but I I basically look like Sean Clarida when I wear it now. So I look like I'm wearing baggy clothes. I don't look like I'm wearing me big dad's clothes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Funny. But yeah, so yeah, in like we used to call this old BNBF money. The phrase I think it is. But anyway, this top, it's a medium, but it's actually like an XL. It's not just because I've got small.
Good.
So, well, I have got small, but not that
Well,
much.
you have got small. How small are you now then?
Approaching 12 stone weight. Wow, 12 stone club, not 12 stone, which means that you can be 12 stone 13.
Okay.
5. So almost 13. So which surprisingly was the back of a high day this week. Usually I gain at least 3 pounds off a high day, and I've lost weight this week. So cheers metabolism this week.
Well, I've told you a story already, but we'll tell it to the viewers. I've experienced what you must have experienced several times.
I will tell you who this is. This person is Righteous Darren, yeah?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Righteous Darren.
Righteous DSL.
But he's also not wrong in this instance. So I think he'd been watching the podcast, and I just got a message from him. It said, question, what's your weight? What's your deficit? How much have you lost? So a 10-minute voice note ensued from me, where I was like, well, I started doing a little diet, but then I got injured, and then there was the lockdown, and then there was this, and there was that, and I had loads of excuses. And actually, he then replied with this.
Is this going to pop up on the screen, or are you just going to read it out?
Oh, can you not hear it now?
No.
Oh, well, okay. I'll channel me in a Daz then. So he says
glasses.
Yeah. So he basically says, so what you're telling me, Aaron, is that you decided to do a diet, and then yes, okay. So I feel like I'm looking at Aaron now. So basically, Aaron, you decided to do a diet, and then you got injured, and then you decided not to diet, and then you couldn't train, and then you just didn't do a diet, and then you couldn't be asked dropping your food, so you didn't diet, and then you're only down 3 kilos in 10 weeks because you didn't diet, and then there was a lot more, expletives.
And you didn't do what I told you to do.
Yes.
So, in the words of Darren, stop messing around.
Yeah.
Lazy gets you last.
Yeah.
And what other phrases of sayings has he got?
We have here. We had you can stop mincing about now and get this cut done.
Yeah, just get it done.
So yeah,
enough from DSL.
So yeah. So I agreed and decided let's get this little mini cut bullshit done in the next sort of 4 to 6 weeks. So dropped loads of food, really hungry, but I'm going to be shreds but not shreds in a few weeks, and then can get eating again. So that's good news.
Definitely. It almost does you to a point, doesn't it? I mean, I think it's the same every time at the end of off season. It's like you don't feel good when you really look honestly at it. I think you start, you don't feel good. Only the time you do feel good is when you're actually training.
Yeah.
But to be fair, you have been skating uphill a little bit, haven't you? And because the big part of that, if you're able to keep your weight down, is the fact that you're able to throw weights around for an hour and a half. And if you've not been able to do that, really, it is tough.
Well, that was the joke. I mean, that was kind of the joke, really. But at the same time, it does apply. Like, I wanted to do a mini cut in March. I really didn't want to do it for that long, like 2 months max. But I found very quickly I couldn't train with any intensity here at home. So as soon as I had the Hobbit holder training, I could then do it now. So yeah, I've just been in maintenance for a little bit, really, is all it was. And I did have that injury that really sucked. And had gyms been open, I would have had to take some time off anyway. So, but that's what we're doing now. So I'm team soft drink as well.
Yeah.
No, at the moment, I'm just on water, which is shit.
It's like a beer, that's a beer. Oh, okay.
Just a glass of vodka. So yeah.
This weekend.
Original. Nice.
Pepsi Max original. So very good. Well, yeah. Well, cheers, Darren, for laying it on the line as always.
Yeah.
How did you respond? Was you like, fair enough?
Yeah, I was like, yeah, needed someone to tell me that. Just because otherwise I would have kept doing this bit for well too long, and I'm already bored of it. I want to be back in off-season growing anyway, so the quicker I can get it done, the quicker. Yeah. I said this to a client that I have, so shout out to Ashley for this one, because she likes watching the podcast a lot. But I was just basically saying, like, it's one of them, like, it's no better time to do one, because the fact is, if you are a bit of a social butterfly and you do like to meet up with your mates and that for a burger at the weekend, if you've already put on weight during the lockdown, and then you then go, okay, you might be going back to the gym, but then you're already then going to go and do all these little social events because you haven't seen anyone in ages. Yeah. So you're much better off the time that I actually maybe finished show preps, that you can then go, right, I can go team burgers with the boys now, rather than like, okay, you've been dieting all year, and then as soon as you finish dieting, Rob, then you are back to dieting. So that's my that's kind of the conversation I had with her anyway, with regards to that, about, look, just get it done, get 10 pounds down, and then you go back and enjoy things a bit more. So yeah, that's the whole plan. And yeah, for me, it's come down and then go back up a bit. Hi, Cara again. Oh, was you feeling a bit neglected? No one talking to you this week? Yeah, cheers for that. Hi, Cara. Maybe more features from Cara later on in the podcast. But yeah, my plan is to just come up and down and up and down and up and down without being too restricted. So that's what we're doing now. So it's fun. You had a story you wanted to tell me about bench pressing. Oh yeah. So I'm sure this has happened to you in the gym. Maybe not at such a crucial moment. Okay. So Julius Maddox is do you know who Julius Maddox is? Okay, so he's a raw powerlifter. Okay. So basically, just he can wear, like, which only I can describe as, looks like he's wearing Hacksaw Jim Duggan's lifting outfit. Right. So no squat suit or bench shirt or anything like that. No belt. Right. Fucking hell. No suit. No nothing. The only thing he's got on is wrist wraps. Wow. They don't even look like SPD ones. They look like, you have to wear, it like makes it harder because you're wearing ones that don't actually support your wrists. Right. But they do look pretty good, to be fair. Anyway, so this week he was attempting an 800-pound bench, which is for, what's that? What's 800 pounds? In kilos? 160 kilos, 380 kilos. Something like that, yeah. 2.2 pounds to a kilo. Yeah, doing the maths. 363 kilos, so 364, thereabouts. So, it's his own bench press record, raw bench press record, this is. And he went to a competition this weekend to do it, and they were going to just live stream it, but it was just a full-on meet instead. So they just sacked off social distancing because bench press. Is that in America, is it? Or? Yeah. And he's been flying in training. Like, he's been doing, like, he did an opener at 720. Or 722 or something, and it was like you doing maybe an 80, right? Just like boom, boom, straight up. So it went for the 800 pounds on the second lift, and he was gonna do another weight before that, but he decided to go straight for the 800 instead. So takes the bar off, and it's like that straight away, and they take it off and put it back. The flipping guys in the competition misloaded his bar by a whole red 25-kilo plate. Wow. And then he failed the lift and didn't do it. So they completely sabotaged it because one guy can't count 6 plates aside and one guy can only count up to 5, basically. Is how badly they got it wrong? That's by 25 kilos. So I'm not sure if you've had this, because I'm sure we all have, where you've been misloaded and then you take the bar off. And it might probably be by a 2.5 when we're talking at ours. And you're like, this is a bit weird. Well, that's the difference, actually. Having a 25, you'd notice, and clearly you wouldn't do the set. But I've definitely done something with dumbbells before.
Yeah, 32 and a 30.
Yeah.
It's all right this week. But yeah, so that was like, it's like heartbreaking, and he's been building up to this. It's like Thor doing the deadlift, you know what I mean? Yeah. Building up to it for all these competitions like that, and they flipping misloaded the bar.
So then after that he failed the reps.
The lift, yeah, I think he didn't get it after that. I didn't watch the rest of the video, but how annoyed would you be? Like he's gonna do it, like his own record, and he's gonna do it again another time for sure. But how, like at that weight, it's like, you know, it doesn't take a lot for that to go wrong to tear a pec off. So a 35 kilo misload is ridiculous.
Did you see Matt Jansen's Instagram post this week?
Oh, I felt for him, to be fair.
Have met Matt. Met Matt. I met Matt last year. He's a really good guy. So it sucks this, but if anyone's not seen it, he was 4.5 flat bench, was it?
4 and a quarter.
Yeah, 4 in pieces. Yeah. Nice strict bodybuilding reps and just bang, pecked her.
Do you know what? I actually hate watching those videos because it starts to put that thing in your head of it happening to you.
I know.
I will say this for sure, and I know it's a bit of a blanket statement because obviously other naturals have torn pecs. But I think that when, from an assisted side of view, you are getting, you know, muscles are growing at a stupidly fast rate.
Right.
Tendons and ligaments don't really grow like that to that speed. Yeah. But what you're getting is you're getting a really heavy muscle, and then the ligaments and tendons haven't got time to catch up with it, and that's why you'll tend to find people who are assisted tend to tear things more easier than guys who are natural.
That's a good point.
You know, like, and don't get me wrong, it's definitely happening. Obviously, natural guys can obviously do that. But I mean, you're not torn a pec off.
No.
A grade 3 tear where it's like you need to have surgery.
No.
And speaking of that, do you see Seferosi's tricep tear?
No.
He tore his tricep doing stupid shit, whatever. Shouldn't say it what it was. And he's had his surgery done, and it looks incredible. You can't tell the difference. All you can see is that he's got a scar there, and the other arm is slightly smaller. Unbelievable. If you could want a tricep tear to be redone, that's who you want, his surgeon.
Well, it's like there's a few now, isn't there? Antoine Vaillant's bicep. That doesn't look any different at the moment, apart from it was downsized, because it would be.
Like Brian Warren tore a quad. It's like, you know.
And then did the Arnold Classic 6 months later.
6 weeks.
6 weeks, was it?
No, it wasn't as little as that. It was like.
It was like ridiculous, though. Yeah, it was.
10 weeks, wasn't it?
From when he started training, from when he could actually exercise on it again, it was a matter of weeks before he actually competed. We'll maybe get the facts on that one. Back to the missed lift. Question. Who was more angry? The guy that missed that, the powerlifter that missed that lift, or you when Chris Edge didn't spot you in Evo?
Definitely that guy. Because I, like a true champion, like winners find a way and all this kind of stuff, went and then did the rep afterwards. Julius Maddox didn't do it. So 1-0 Bobby.
Edgy insists that there was a time that you left him on a rep.
No, because I knew this was
no.
Chris Edge, because I didn't leave him on the rep. It's just that I couldn't physically spot him anymore.
Right.
And no, I'll tell you what happened. There was no effort to come back up. It was a complete downward sink with no pause or lift to go. It just went like this.
Right.
And that was it. It was literally just like that. So basically just a really good negative.
Good.
And that's all. That's all he got from that set. So, yeah, you can't say I left you hanging because there was no effort to even push back up. He just decided just to bottom out of it.
Okay.
So I got halfway back up before he just let me go back down.
It was very Hello Darkness, wasn't it? You could just see you just Little face, just slowly.
I've been watching that Chris Edge. I've been watching him. Sneaky, sneaky. Payback. He's like, oh, I'll show you, Warfinger.
We will see what he's. We'll get next week. We'll get Chris Edge's opinion. We'll feedback on that. What else? Oh, Dan North has got into funny things for the podcast because he messaged me to point out that you had been to the Hobbit Hall to train.
I have, yes.
But then you've also been to the Shire, Oxfordshire.
I did. I went yesterday, yeah.
So actual real Gandalf.
I am real Gandalf, yeah. I just need the pipe now.
Yeah. The cigar is close enough, is it not?
Yeah, it is, but like pipe's next level. Because there's actually an art to keeping a pipe alight when you smoke a pipe.
Yeah.
And the cigar shop we go to at the Havana House in Oxford, you can actually buy Bilbo's pipe. And it is a long brown pipe with like only what I could describe as like, you know, Toby jugs.
Right.
With the big guy's face on the bottom.
Yeah. Basically,
it's like a guy's head at the bottom for the pipe that's made out of ivory or something. Absolutely incredible. So if I was going to smoke a pipe, it would definitely be that one. It's like...
I feel like we should have a cigar segment.
Cigar segment?
I don't know anything about cigars, so I might learn. But if we could have favourite cigar of the week.
Yeah. Cigar session. And I definitely have more on prep than what I do off season.
Yeah.
100%. Need something else non-bodybuilding to look forward to, and that obviously is not going to be food. Whereas in the off season, you go have a cigar or just go for a burger.
Right.
So it's something else to like have some enjoyment out of and get nerdy about.
Yeah, it is nerdy because I learned that I didn't know about. Obviously, when you stayed at mine and it was cold, and you were being a whiny bitch because it was cold in your bedroom, but then panicked because your cigars had been left in the boot of your car, I think.
Yeah, it's not optimal conditions to leave it, really.
But then we brought them in, and it didn't really make it much better.
Well, it did. It just had to come back almost like, I would say, it's not right. It needs to be kept at like 70% humidity.
Yeah. You can't get that in the north.
You can, that's why you have to have humidification products in your humidor. It's not about being hot. It's about in that little wooden box. You've got to, it needs to be humidified.
See, this is what we need. This is what I wanted. I wanted cigar segment.
Basically, a cigar is 100% tobacco from start to finish.
Well, okay.
So the leaf, the wrapper, everything in the cigar is, whereas like a cigarette is obviously it's factory made or whatever. So that's two differences. But without rambling on about cigars, so that's why they have to be kept in good conditions. Can't sit in like a Tesco store. So
all right.
There you go. There's that segment. Hopefully for this
next week on Cigar Chat, we'll have something else.
So talking about going to the Shire, I did go and train at my mate Graham's, who's been, he used to train at Darren's gym at Feel Good Fitness from when time began, when I first started training. And he's one of my non-bodybuilding best friends. And he's a little bit anal about stuff, should we say.
Okay.
So he decided, obviously, during lockdown that he would invest in getting his home gym set up. So the two things that he decided to buy was a rack of dumbbells from 5s or 4s all the way up to 60 kilos.
Okay.
And these are the most mint-looking dumbbells I've seen that have been bought online.
Wow.
So he's had them custom made.
Jeez.
They are like chrome, like something on a motorbike. The handles on them are like the knurl on a barbell.
Wow.
They are absolutely incredible. And they have not only got that, they've got the initials of himself. This is Graham Charles Pike. So GCP written on them.
Right.
So the numbers of the weights, obviously. Now, him being very anal, when he got these delivered, they had the weight on one end of the dumbbell and GCP written on the other end of the dumbbell. Oh no, this wasn't going to cut it for him. Even though he is the only person who sees them, he made the guy come and pick them all up, take them back, engrave the initials underneath the weight and put them at either ends and then re-deliver them.
Brilliant.
So, because he can. So,
yeah.
So if you're going to build a home gym, and the second thing, which is what I laughed about really, so he's got a garage for obviously weight training in. So instead of buying a power rack or anything that would, he decided to buy a lever row squat machine to go in his garage.
Brilliant.
You can only squat on it. Now forget. Okay.
He's not got a power rack.
No, he's not got a power rack. So rather than have a power rack where you can do all the stuff on, he's got a hammer strength bench.
Brilliant.
Optimal dumbbells up to 60, and then a lever row squat machine. So
brilliant.
I'm like, you couldn't have got a bigger piece of kit to put in your garage that you can only do one exercise with.
Yeah.
It's like you can't even do like the booty blaster 5,000 lift and do a stiff leg dead with it because it hasn't got the length of the shoulder pads on it. And it's a hammer strength one. It's about 1,500 quid piece of kit.
Jeez.
But he said he had a blood rush to the head and had to buy it. So I was like, right, okay, cool.
I mean, that sounds like a rush of blood if I've ever heard one.
Yeah, definitely. But the dumbbells are next level. So yeah, very good.
Jealous.
I did warm up them or dust off the cobwebs or christen, however we want to say it, them 55s for him as well. That's the weekend.
Oh, nice. What did you train?
Can't you tell? Oh, whoa. Chest. So big. So, yeah, that was good. Good chest session. Did all the dumbbell work, all the barbell work. Yeah, good. And then a cigar for post-workout.
Nice. Is there any science behind that?
Yep. I don't want my protein synthesis to be too fast.
Right.
I don't want to uptake, because you know that smoking interferes with protein synthesis, right?
I do now.
Well, you do now. So it actually slows that absorption down, which is not what you want. But if you're already so ahead of the game like I am, you want to get a little bit of advantage now and again. So that's the one thing I'll do, maybe once a month.
Nice.
Just slow that rate of protein absorption down.
Diet face looks good.
You think so?
When I say it looks good, it means it looks dieted.
Okay.
So
there's so much more to go.
I know.
In my face alone.
Hey?
Can't wait to do these podcasts and everyone go, what has happened? What has happened to Rob? Because at the time I walked in for the polygraph at the BNBF finals, and David Kay said, where is the rest of your face gone? Oh, no.
You've got quite a good, there's quite a good Instagram post you've got where you are very, very sunken in.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah. Especially when people post up diet face and they have a massive head still.
Yeah.
Full on Brandon Curry. And they're like, like, how big was your head before this?
I said some people just don't. Derek Lunsford one just looks fat all the time. So
John Clark, BNBF Pro, used to call that sus face.
Sus face. What about
and Decker?
Well, what about steroid talk on Natty Bodybuilding Muscle Radio podcast Livewire?
On the Livewire.
Comes up on BBC, of course, the other day. Dexamethasone, wonder drug for treating coronavirus. And I was like, oh, this is amazing. Dexamethasone, more commonly known as Deca.
Oh, is it? Deca. That was wasn't that the one that was back in the day? That was the one that all the guys used to take, which you can't get anymore, apparently.
Yeah, well, everyone's heard of Sus and Deca, right? And as you just mentioned, so yeah. If you are already massive, then you're safe from coronavirus, it would seem. So,
well, I'm massive, just don't take any steroids, so.
Well, sorry. Well, I mean,
I'm immune to it anyway, so.
Yeah. Just everyone can get massive, and then just say that they had coronavirus, and then they'll be fine. Just get away with it that way.
Good as excuse if ever I heard one.
Yeah,
for sure. So, how are we doing for intro? What we on? We've been flying. What, half an hour in already? Jesus, where does the time go? So, why don't you tell us what we're talking about this week?
Judging. Bodybuilding judging.
Don't BNBF judge me.
Yeah. So it's something I've wanted to do a full episode on for a while. So I was happy when you brought it up, because I think we've got. It's good having me and you talk about it, because you've got me that enjoys bodybuilding but is not a judge, and just has watched bodybuilding shows, and not just someone just from the outside, like a lay person. I know how to look at bodybuilders, and then yourself, who's obviously got a lot of experience judging, and sometimes there's disparities between what people think that they see in the crowd and then what you see in the first row and all that. So yeah, I think there's loads for us to get into, really. Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's start with, so yes, you've very much got, if you've ever been to a bodybuilding show and then you've then gone onto Facebook the next day, then you've seen people post some stuff up and you'll be like, what has gone on there? How has that guy finished first? Because he looks tiny.
Right.
And maybe he's got some very blurred photographs that got off from someone's phone in row 10.
Yeah.
And then they've gone, my mate placed 5th, but he should have won. Don't know what's gone on here.
Yeah.
We must say for the listeners, there is a massive, how should we say, what's the word I'm looking for? A massive difference between going to a show and looking at photos or video of someone at a show. Because there is a huge amount of detail, and when you can see all them tiny little fibers when you're sat there on the judging panel, as opposed to your mate's grandma who sat in the 50th row and thinks that, well, that guy's the biggest, he should be winning. There's a massive difference, and it's the same when he looks even worse on pictures. I'm sure there's plenty of people watching the podcast who've been to show and got terrible photos at some point or other. I know I've done plenty of shows in the past where you're like, I can't even use these pictures because it makes me look terrible. So yeah, thoughts on that then?
So Dave Palumbo mentions it a lot. So it's got to, there's got to be something valid in it, is kind of being at a show and then looking at pictures. There's a few things really. Is we're lucky, for those of us that compete in the BNBF, we're lucky that we get pictures from Phibos.
Yep.
Some of the pictures you get are fantastic, but he's very good at capturing shots. But you also have to consider that it's very easy to take a picture of somebody in a transition and then somebody who's already in the pose. And you can go, look how good that guy is compared to that guy, and he won. It's like, but that's the one split second shutter from the camera, and then you mentioned the fibers and stuff that you see, and I even seen this from when Cara and I used to go and watch bodybuilding shows. We much preferred sitting at the back because we just kind of wanted to be away from everyone, just to see everything. The difference you get from sitting at the back to sitting at the front, and the detail that you see, is immense. It was 2018 we were going watching shows with Darren. He would make sure we were as close to the front as we could get. It didn't matter if someone's head was in front of us, we had to be right at the front, so we could see what the judges were seeing. But then also when you're there, you see as well, is what you don't see in pictures, is a physique that's moving looks very different to a physique that's snapped in a picture. So there's elements of condition and muscularity and fullness that you can't see in a still, but you can see when someone's hitting a most muscular and everything just goes, starts popping and their lat spread and just everything's there that you do miss out on in a picture. So I mean, yeah, I've seen pictures before from shows that have been where I've thought, that guy looked well better in person. and also shows that have not been where I've thought, oh, that result seems strange, based on the pictures. So yeah, it's easily done, even for someone that has seen a lot of bodybuilding shows.
And I'll say this: remind me to come back to Doug Miller. So just remember that.
Yeah.
But you often find people put pictures up of their routine, and the problem is that they'll be posing to techno music,
right,
with like 17 shots, right? So the photographer is like this, but he's still not got a single one where it's all blurry.
Yeah.
But also the biggest bugbear from Fivos himself is that you've come on to do your routine and you've not once actually posed to me for a photograph.
Yeah.
Said that's the biggest difference he sees with the pros. You'll come in the middle of the stage, you'll hit a shot, you look at the camera, and he'll post them on the great. But then you've got like him trying to take a picture of someone who's walked on and not gone further enough into the middle, and then they're over there on the side of the stage, and as I said, then laying on the floor trying to get some pictures of their routine. I'm like, oh, photos are rubbish. It's like, yeah, but you haven't actually executed a single pose properly that you can actually get a good picture of.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, that thing is a big bugbear.
Quite a few times when we'd be watching someone's routine, I'd turn around to Darren and say, oh, I like that routine. And we had there was an emoji flying around in 2018. It's the and that's someone who had either had a shit routine or someone who Darren thought had a shit routine, because whereas they might have danced around and it might have looked like a great dance, they didn't actually stop and pose and hit one shot, and so that I always had that on board, is just to be slower and stuff like that. So that's definitely the case for routines.
Yeah. I mean, routines have to be entertaining to a certain point, but if someone comes on and break dances and does the worm the whole time, it's all very good for entertainment purposes, but it doesn't really show the strength of their physique, and that's really what your routine should do, is show your strength. So if you're me, you never hit a back shot, just work with your bicep shots.
If you're me, you just keep your arms behind your back the whole time.
So talking back, so when I went to the Arnold Classic Australia, I was pretty much in the front row for prejudging. It's like 5 rows back. It was brilliant. It was so good to see them guys of that amount of mass and condition up close. And then the evening show, everyone looks way worse, but I was like row 30.
Right.
And I was like, then when they come into the audience to see actually Cedric had got better in the evening show, and you're like, wow, okay, that really recertifies, especially when you watch a lot of shows, kind of within the first couple of rows, if you judge. You kind of forget a lot of the time. And the biggest example I would give is that 2009 went to Washington for Worlds, and I was in nosebleed seats, sat there, because it was like a typical OCB show. I wasn't on stage till 2 in the morning. And I was sat there being dehydrated from 7 o'clock the night before. I was trying to sit there in the nosebleed seats drinking a coffee. But Doug Miller was still peeled at 50 rows back. And when he hit the hamstring shot on the side, he turns to the side and flick the hamstring. And everyone was like, oh, Jesus. I wonder what that looked like up close, because it was like granite from row 50. So, so that's one of them things where, you can kind of appreciate how good they are. And I think when you are further back in the audience, you will come out of prejudging or come out of the show thinking I don't understand how that result's come out that way. But as I said, go and watch a show and go and sit in the front row compared to how you would then maybe say go back and sit further back. You'll see how different it looks.
It's so many other little details as well. I mean, what's the one thing that pisses me off the most when we watch the live stream of the Arnold and the Olympia? It's these camera angles that someone will be hitting a side chest to the judges, and the camera crew that they've got in will be taking a picture of the side chest from the back or the side.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
When you're a bodybuilder, when you learn to pose, you're learning to pose to that direction. You don't care what you look like from this direction, from the back or whatever, because it's all about that pose going forward. So when you've got cameramen taking pictures from weird angles and any in the crowd as well.
They must just film things like theatre plays and stuff like that where it doesn't make a difference. You're just getting a cool angle on stuff.
Exactly.
Bodybuilding, like we can just be entertained by you just being here. I'm happy with that.
The reason why I bring it up is because that's annoying and it pissed me off. But actually, you can get it at shows anyway, because you mentioned the guy, people you'll see on Facebook the next day a picture that someone's took on their iPhone or whatever. That's not from the judging table, it's from slightly to the right or whatever. And maybe the guy that they were watching and supporting was posing towards them, because sometimes people pose towards the friends and family. So, it's difficult, and you have to take that into account if you're on stage as well, because you should be posing at the judges, and that's the important thing. Maybe don't even worry about that at that point. If you see from like last year, if you see me on the lineup, there's a point where I'm on the end and I'm actually stood like this towards the judges. Yeah. Because I was aware that that's kind of how I'd learned how to pose. So you got to be. That's something to look out for as well.
I was to go back to the photography side. That's why Fivos is such a good photographer for bodybuilding. Shout out Fivos. It's because he's bodybuilding himself and he knows when you're about to hit a shot.
Right.
Not like you said, if you wind up into the shot and you've not quite gone into that full pose, he knows that you haven't hit that shot yet, and then it'll click you in time.
Yeah.
So if you can't get good photos from Fivos taking your pictures, then there's something wrong with your body.
Right. Is it? And again, I want to ask you something to get back on track with real judging now. But the last little bit on I guess with Fivos and getting pictures took really is the pose down as well. People like to have fun with it and stuff like that, and that's great. And if you're up on stage with someone that you know as well, that can be really cool. But what I learned actually is the best thing to do in a pose down is just stay in one place. Just stay in a spot and just hit shots nice and slowly, because you'll get some great pictures then.
Yeah.
Because if you worry too much about moving around and this and that and the other and hitting weird shots, you won't get any good pictures. But at that point, when the show is over, just get some good pictures. Just stand there, hit. I mean, there was a point at British last year where I just stood in a lat spread for about a minute. I was just waiting.
Picture me, take a picture. It's funny though. I think there's a big misconception. I mean, it kind of ties in well. They were kind of working backwards slightly. Is that by the time of the pose down, the judging decisions are made up. If I haven't got my sheet in to the judges by the time of the pose down is going on, Vicky is like, "Where's my sheet?"
Yeah.
Because I've got to tottle them up. It's only on the very, very odd occasion that you're deliberating maybe between two people, and it's very, very rare that you need that long. Maybe at British finals level, that's like, I can't decide between these two people who I'm going to go with. Make a decision, stick by it, put your sheet in. But people think that they're like overly posing in that pose down, because they're like, this could be the difference between another, first and second. But really, 99.9% of the time is that the actual decision's already been made up through prejudging and stuff anyway.
So I guess, I've got two questions then, really. Maybe we'll work backwards because it kind of makes sense with the pose down. Talk to me about, from a judge's point of view, what's judged in the day, prejudging, and what's judged in the night show? Does the night show count to a massive amount? Because it sounds like taboo to kind of bring that up, but you'll hear it a lot. You'll hear a lot of competitors saying, "Oh, it's they'll do prejudging and they'll come back to the night show and they'll say things like, 'Oh, it doesn't matter. The judges have made their mind up now anyway.'" So you hear that a lot backstage.
Well, to answer it simply, first of all, it's a third. It's a third of the score.
Right.
Because if you imagine, obviously, shows into 3/3, if that makes sense. Because
that tends to be how thirds work. There's three of them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, third. Yes, good. Glad you clarified that. So the way it would actually work from kind of a logical standpoint. Now, this does differ with federations. So when I spoke to Martin Yates, who owns the IFBA Federation, good little fed. I worked at his gym for a while on a promotion and everything in Symmetry, which is in the middle of Cumbria, in the middle of nowhere. But he's got a cool little gym there, and he obviously does all the running of the IBFA through that. So when he asked me to do some guest judging, but at the time I couldn't for whatever reason. But how they judge their shows are, who do I like the best? He's number one. It's not broken down into rounds.
Okay.
That's the biggest difference. And I believe the UKFDA judged that way as well. And I said, you can make the argument, does it make a difference or like to the scores? And you know, it's going to be the same outcome regardless. But sometimes it can change things into regards to favour of especially the more shapely guys. Because, so to kind of break it down from the start, you've got Symmetry round, first of all. Now, in Symmetry, all you are really looking for is how well balanced that guy's physique is. So on a general rule of thumb, you can have a slightly fatter guy, okay, with a nice shape compared to a bone dry, ugly shape, okay. Now, the guy with the ugly shape is probably more than likely going to win at the end of the show. However, it can make a big difference to how it comes out in the sheets. So, for example, if you're very shapely, like me and you, you're always going to score well in Symmetry round because it's shape and proportions. Condition comes into it a tad for sure, because obviously if you're, I always say this, if you're kind of fat, then you're going to kind of look more balanced in general. If that makes sense. You kind of look like you've got, like, you know, you can have a decent shape and still be kind of proportionally fat everywhere, and, you know, for a bodybuilder. So you can kind of get away with being a little bit more shapely, but then you're going to then drop right the way down when it comes to obviously muscularity round. So really the first 2/3 of the show then, because thirds works in threes, I'm not sure if we know.
Just in case anybody didn't know that. It seemed like you didn't. It seemed like you didn't 2 minutes ago.
So basically you've got muscularity round, Symmetry round, and you've obviously got the even round. So the way it would actually work on a sheet without jumping around too much is that you'd have, let's say you have 10 competitors in the show. You would mark your guy you like the best and the person who is the best, if you like, mark as a number 1, and then number 2, 3, all the way down to 7. And then from 7, you'll get marked as 7. There's no 7, 8, 9, and 10. Sometimes.
And you do that per third. So for muscularity, for Symmetry, and for
So that would how that would work. So what you can often have by the end of prejudging is you can have the shapely guy and the not so shapely guy, but more condition, more muscle, both even scored by the end of prejudging. So one can have 1 in Symmetry round, the other guy would have a 2 in Symmetry round, and then it would be flip-flopped. He would have 2 and 1. So you'd both be on 3 by the end of prejudging. Now, as I said, the way that some other federations would score that, they would just basically judge on who do they like the best, and it would be 1 and 2. So you tend to find that is always kind of maybe a way that you are taking into consideration shape and symmetry as a real big part of the show when you judge the way the BNBF do.
Yeah.
You know, you can tend to find that maybe it's still going to be the same outcome maybe at the end, so you can make that argument, and I think that whatever kind of works for you is fine, because I don't really see a massive issue with it. I just tend to find that if you're a real kind of purist of bodybuilding, you'll tend to find that the shapely guys are going to usually maybe fend better, especially if there is maybe, how should we say, if shape and symmetry is a big part for you, then you're always going to want to reward that as a judge. I certainly do, because I think that's part of bodybuilding.
I think that's good for you to say as well, because I think there has to be an element of, I've said this time and time again, maybe we even spoke about this a few episodes back, the whole, is bodybuilding a sport? And if it's not a sport, what is it? And I said, actually, I thought it was a pageant. You know, as much as I love it, that's the best way to describe it, really. And as a fan, I watch things and I gravitate towards things that bodybuilders that I like because of either maybe the way I look, or because of even maybe not the way I look, the things that I like. And I think I would imagine, and that's kind of what you just said, as a judge, it's impossible to not have preferences. You know, you're judging from the score sheet, and it's like who's the most conditioned for, and who's most muscular for that round, who's the most symmetrical, etc. for that round. It'd be kind of bullshit to say that, you know, you don't have something that catches your eye. You know, you might love conditioning, and you might see someone who's inside out, and it just catches your eye, and you can't do anything about that. It's the whole kind of I guess you see it in bikini, right? A lot is, you know, the whole flowy arms.
Yeah.
And it's about it's meant to be about catching the judge's eye and stuff like that. Judges are human, and there has to be an element of, you know, making somebody aware that you're there, especially in a big lineup, you know.
Yeah, I mean, you can be drawn to people for different reasons. Like, you can be drawn to people because the color of their tan is exceptional, and they have smiled from non-stop, from start to finish, and they look like they're having a great time. It doesn't look like it's forced. You can't help but want to like that guy. Now, as I said, you are judging from, you know, the neck downwards, but really, as I said, like overall stage presence and thing, that is genuinely a true factor to something like bodybuilding.
And it's not on the score sheet, but it overreaches on everything.
Yeah, definitely.
It's important for everything, you know.
Like, you know, and there's always that phrase that said like, oh, you know, we'll mark you down for tattoos and things like that. Now that's load of rubbish as well. You don't get, but if someone has got a quad with a big black ink tattoo on it and you can't see definition,
right,
stop marking you down for tattoos. It's just that I can't see them. I can't see your muscle because you can't see the separation. So things like that, it's not the case that you get points taken off. It's the fact that, you know, it's actually hindering your physique in some way.
Likewise with tan, there's not a tick box that says good tan, but if someone's got a shit tan, you can't see certain things.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, you know, it's either going to wash you out or it's going to obviously, you know, you're too dark. And that can be a thing as well. You know, you can people go so dark when it's actually like, oh, you've not got glaze on. Things like that. It can all make a difference. But that all comes back around to presentation. You know, your overall, how you present yourself, and not just smiling and posing well. It's actually your tan, your trunk, all that kind of stuff. But to get back to it then, so yes, so you're going to obviously have symmetry round judged, muscularity judged, and what you're looking for in muscularity is really more condition and a muscle size. And to kind of highlight the criteria, it's muscle on the frame as well. So therefore, you know, you might be 6 foot tall and 6 foot wide, but very stringy. You know, you might be a bigger guy than you at a generous 5'2.5", 3/4, 5'1.5" and 3/4.
5'1.8" official.
So that obviously makes a big difference. With things like I say, it's like muscle in the frame, so it's not always like, you know, the sort of biggest guy wins. It's the guy with the most amount of muscle on that frame.
Not rewarding someone for having a big skeleton, basically.
Exactly that. So kind of like the way that would be the way that judging is broken down. And then we get back around to where we started this conversation, the evening round. Now, the evening round is for you to obviously display your physique to the, you know, the best of your ability. So if you have legs as good as yours, don't spend your whole time kneeling on the floor and lying down doing the worm. Well, it's not that you can, but, you know, if you could.
Oh, if I could, it'd be pretty good, but no.
Then it's not gonna, you know, it's not gonna how should we highlight your best points,
right? And
the way that the evening round is judged is that it is purely judged on how your physique looks in the evening, okay? And if you obviously can do a good routine, but what it's not scored on, and this would completely mess all the judging criteria, and I've seen this when people do test papers for judging, is they'll have rounds 1 and 2 absolutely perfect, but they've got 8th place comes out and does a fantastic posing routine, very entertaining poses, while all that kind of stuff, and you mark him as a number 1, that would completely throw out all your scores.
Yeah.
So therefore, it's not judged in the way people think, okay, I need to have like an amazing routine, but you need to be able to pose well, but you also need to be able to, as I said, highlight your best points of your physique. And that would make up your 3/3 of the judging.
Good. Maths and bodybuilding in one podcast. So that's a good point you make about the routine. We all love a great routine, and I mean, I'll say it personally, I don't like the fast body popping sort of worm routines, but where I think they're good, and especially think they're good in places like British finals, is because it's a long show, and you do get a lot of lay people coming to watch, so you get people's parents and stuff like that. And I know that when my parents have come along before, they'll comment about the guy that did the body popping routine, or the guy that used a prop or something like that, and it's entertainment at the end of the day. There's an element of that has to be, you have to accept. It's not for me. I'd much rather see like a nice, like a good classical routine, that I really do like that. But you make a good point in that, and it's very difficult. It's not the dance routine that's being judged. It's not, is that person very good at choreographing a good routine? It's, whilst they were doing it, what did their physique look like? And the kind of routine element falls under the blanket as tan, stage presence, because if you can't pose, and it's a good opportunity to do poses that you don't get to do in the mandatories and that you don't get to do in muscularity. And maybe you've got an incredible classic one hand front double bicep thing that you don't get to do in muscularity, but you can do it in your routine and show off your physique. That's what people need to remember. So there is not a tick box of great dance routine. It's what did your physique look like during that 60 seconds that you got to present it. And I think if people realize that a little bit more, then I've seen people go out, basically do quarter turns and go through muscularity, and either won or place really highly because they look great in those 2/3 anyway.
Yeah.
And they just went out and shown that at the night show.
Yeah, definitely.
That's all you really need to do.
Especially for a beginner. It's a great way to, like I've always said to people, putting together routines, people, it's like, well, we're just going to choose your best shots from your mandatories and do them of some variation, really. And then we might put an archer pose in, here and there, but something simple. I have to laugh. I have to laugh because there's a competitor who used to compete with the BNBF. Haven't seen him for a while. Really good guy. His name's Lazaro Almirez, people who might remember him. But he's the guy that one year he came on and did a magic trick with a goldfish for his routine. And then like blew away some chalk, and then the chalk sign said the BNBF on it or something. It was like,
that's really
absolutely hilarious. Like, and then I think,
and that's it. It's brilliant. You have people that come to watch that show that were really like took back by it. I forgive me because I don't know the guy's name. But there's a Masters. I think he might be over 70 competitor who has used prop. I think he had an army hat on.
Yeah, I know who you mean.
And I had two work colleagues come because it must have been at the Northern in 2017, and that's all they talk about after the show.
Yeah, I think definitely the Masters and like the over 70s and stuff can get away. Like their routines are always great. Like Ted Clifton always comes out, they're clapping, and that's great. Like that's a pure entertainment value because I said. But if the heavyweights all come out and do it and stuff, it's like it doesn't have that same kind of class to it because they're just they're not 70 and they're not old guy coming out with a Zimmer frame and then all of a sudden chucks it across the floor and starts doing the routine. Yeah. That's brilliant.
Well, so, those that have sat with me, Darren, Dan, and all those that kind of row at bodybuilding shows, and Cara will know about. It's not a good bodybuilding show if a Masters competitor hasn't made her cry.
Go on. Oh, she's just out the room.
She's just legged it in an attempt to not get called up, I think. But if there's a Masters guy that come on and it clearly means something to him, and also, funnily enough, it never happens with open competitors. She's not really bothered about female competitors doing it. But if it's a Masters or a teen or a junior, so both ends of the spectrum,
yeah,
if they do a routine that's got a bit of emotion to it, she's gone.
She's gone.
Done.
We're a mess.
Yeah. So that should be a new criteria.
Jokes. Can you make Cara cry?
Yeah.
Sorry, I was trying to put some more optimal lighting on because it looks a bit dark. A bit dark is all right.
That's all right. It's all right.
Okay. Cool.
So I wanted to ask again, another, because it's interesting for me because we don't really discuss it too much detail outside of the podcast about real details of judging. So the muscularity and conditioning round, to me, that's always something that, as a just watching bodybuilding shows, because I guess one thing I wanted to discuss was IFBB, that kind of professional side of bodybuilding judging compared to natural. So we get onto that, but with the muscularity and conditioning, I always find it hard to kind of make a judgment on the two, or do you just make a judgment on one thing combined? So can you have someone that's got good muscularity because they're very big and muscular, and somebody that's got really good conditioning but hasn't got a lot of muscle? So
yeah,
where does that kind of fall?
I think it depends what you like as a judge when we go back to that.
Okay.
She's definitely getting the podcast this week. Was that a box of cookies?
Yeah. Come on.
Wrong one.
Yeah,
I need the open one. I don't want to open one. They're not been opened, have they?
That was like a child trying to steal some cookies from the cookie jar without being what? And you definitely, yeah, I can just see your hand, I can see your head, everything.
Yeah, we got it.
Get the second
You got them out?
Get them straws out, yeah. There's them.
They're the right ones, yeah.
20.
Yeah, happy yet?
Yeah.
Still crawling.
So you left the cupboard doors open now and it's ruined the aesthetic, so can you close those, please? Any Aeronn bread in there?
Not in here. This week,
Aeronn bread.
oh,
Oh, the wholemeal seeds and gains loaf.
yeah.
Look at that. Oh, you've gone back to a boudoir now as well. Excellent.
Cheers. So I was asking a really good question before we were rudely interrupted by Cara feeling the need to.
To see the minstrels being stolen from the cupboard.
Cara's blood sugar was getting low, so.
So, the Natty bodybuilding raw unfiltered this week.
There will be no editing of that. So if you are, if you want to, again, if you are tuning in for a slick podcast, then please find another one.
I'm going to need Claire to make an appearance down to go and smuggle something from behind
the radiator.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
So get back to your question then, please. Yeah. So did you ask what was more important out of condition and muscle size, or how it works? How
does that work really? So for a criteria that is muscularity, that's termed as muscularity, it's not muscularity and conditioning, it's muscularity. I guess what does that mean? Because it always confused me a little bit, but also I guess people, newbies and stuff would be interested to know: is it size? Is it conditioning? Does it have to be both? And what's the? So
I think it comes down to what you like as a judge, and just if you was judging the show, what you're drawn to. You'll tend to find, I think, that you resonate with, if that's the right word, with what you like yourself and what you have yourself. Okay. So if you're more of a shape guy, you tend to like the guys who've got better shape because you can appreciate it. If you are maybe a little bit more rugged, put together, you tend to go for a guy who's got a little bit more rugged muscle, but is in like kind of freaky condition. But if you are generally a fan of the sport, you'll tend to kind of like, you know, you want to pick just kind of what you like the best, and you might appreciate good shape on people. So it does come down to the individual preferences. But yeah, it's not really one that, you know, is like separated from like condition or mass.
Yeah.
Because you can have a guy, like a great example is someone like Shane Raymond.
Right.
Every year that he, you know, as an amateur, that he won an overall, and you thought he maybe, I don't want to give it to him because he's not quite in the condition he needs to be in, but to have that amount of like roundness, fullness, and freaky mass, you're like, I can't not. He's the better bodybuilder. I have to give it to him.
Yeah.
Whereas then, obviously, then he'd end up then getting beaten maybe at British finals by somebody else because, like Mushy or someone, because he, you know, would just be just enough muscle and enough condition, enough size to just kind of expose maybe how soft he was in certain shows. Like obviously, like, you know, like even at the Grand Prix, like he finished second last time we competed, and you could make the case like, you know, he's got enough condition with enough muscle to beat somebody else. So that's really the thing. It is a bodybuilding show at the end of the day. It's not, as you said, it's not a dieting contest. However, as I said, I think it's maybe just kind of what you can only judge what's in front of you, because you can have preferences as a judge. Okay. But let's say I get a Masters competitor come out and there's two guys who are a lot smaller, really good shape, but this guy comes out and he's just got loads of rugged mass and he's like, you know, pretty peeled. He's going to win every time for me, no matter how shapely the other guys are, a little bit softer. You know, you're gonna judge with, you know, kind of like, you know, what's deserving of kind of, you know, that level of muscle. So it definitely does take a certain eye, and I always like to think back to when I first started watching IFBB Pro shows, and they all line up, and you go, how on earth do they tell those apart? They all look the same, right? But then when you then start watching bodybuilding, and then you go to more bodybuilding shows, and you see more and more and more of it, you then start to realize that how everyone looks so different. It's always that panic, especially at British finals, like when all the lightweights work out and you go, oh my God, everyone's peeled, everyone's in good shape, they're all around the same height. I mean, it's like, how's it going to work? How am I actually going to judge this? And then they go around 2 or 3 times, and then it's so clear cut on your piece of paper, and you're like, how has that happened? You know, you just like, you can't believe that you've got to that, but you almost need to see people then posing and going through. Some people get worse, some people get better. And obviously, you know, some people can pose, some can't. But, you know, everyone can come out in front, relax, and you just go, oh no, what am I going to do? So it almost like, and having that broken down into rounds really helps a lot.
Right.
Because I said, there's like, you know, it's nice when you have people on level scores coming out of prejudging. And then in the even show, it gives me a second time to look at them again. And what physique do I like better? Who deserves to win that? Is the one guy tighter than he was a couple of hours before? You know, because some people get worse, some people get better, and then some might come a bit more fuller, better tan in the even show. There's a lot of things where you can go back and go, yep, you've got the nod for me. But you know, so it's nice when it's broken down that way, because you've got, you know, a third to look at, to basically make your mind up.
I'm glad we spoke about this bit, because I think it's important, really, because I bring it up, people saying, you know, it being the kind of talk backstage, and even on the side of stage, I've heard it queuing up to go out for a routine, is people going, oh, it doesn't matter anyway now, the judges have made their minds up and stuff like that. And if you feel that you're behind at prejudging, let's say you didn't get a call out, or you maybe got a call out and you were right at the end of it, and you were maybe sneaking in to get a trophy, and you never got a trophy before, and you really wanted to, that's what you wanted, you know, don't think that you can't kind of bump up a space by presenting your physique in such a way that you give the judges another opportunity to see how good you are. And that's how it should be. Don't worry, don't scare yourself off into, I can't do a routine. You know, this is another opportunity, whilst other people might be sleeping because they believe that it's done. Yeah. You know, there's another opportunity to show it.
I mean, you can have people who can be in 4th place coming out of prejudging and be that much better in the even that and the other two have got worse, and they can be down as a 2. That might, okay, it might not bump them up to second, but it can definitely bring them a place further, especially if all the other guys are fairly level.
Yeah.
And it comes out that way, and you think, like, I didn't even recognize that guy in prejudging. And what's happened there? Like, and then all of a sudden, like, you're like, oh, how have I missed him? And it's like, well, no, he just got that much better. So 100%, you can easily claw your way back. And okay, there might be a bit too much, of a hill to climb, to come back in that even show. But 100%, it's a third of the scores. Yeah. And as I said, it's not judged on how well you pose. It's simply on how you look really and how the athlete looks in that even show. And I think that's where, like, the Arnold Classic is now being judged with actually what they pose like. That's why it throws out some quirky scores, like when Kai beat Cedric.
Yeah.
Because Kai is arguably, one of the best posers. Even though Cedric's routines are always great, it's like, we can't not give him the nod if you judge it the way that's supposed to be judged. And that's why I think that it's a good thing that we don't judge the routines on the routine, more on how the athlete looks, because it can send some really quirky stuff out. You think that, well, that's not right. I can't reward that guy. Okay, he's got a great routine, but I can't reward him. He's not a better bodybuilder than the other 2 people in front of him. Right. So he should be third, and that's the thing to realise.
You know what? I think it works at the Arnold Classic, though, with it being the actual routine that's judged. And I'll tell you why is, let's say you're at a natural bodybuilding show's qualifier, and you've got 5 guys in the class, and only 2 of them are actually any good. So if you, but okay, 2 of them are any good, but one of them is also a semi-professional dancer. Let's just say, so that guy could bump himself up by, if judging was actually how good your routine was, and would, be placed unfairly then compared to the other guys. Yeah. At the Arnold Classic, at that level of bodybuilding, enhanced, not enhanced, whatever, I'm of the opinion that the ability to present your physique in a routine is important. Yeah. Now, you don't have to be Sergio Olivia Jr., who this year's routine was incredible. You don't have to be Heidi Yamagashi, who can also do them kind of, or go back as far as you like and Lee Labrada and stuff like that. Maybe you don't have to be that good, but you have to not just walk side to side hitting most musculars.
Yeah, that's it. It's like, and there's another thing that we talk about with regards to judging. Like, I will often reward people in some form of way. It might even just be on the notes on their sheet, but they pose for their physique.
Right.
If you are Branch Warren, you're going to come out to Kid Rock and stomp quads around the stage because that suits his physique.
Yeah.
If you've got a super classical music and the ugliest rugged physique ever, it's the flow with your lines. Instead, like, people coming out and like they listen to techno when they train, so they then go out and pose to it, and they're like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, you said, you don't have the coordination and the skills to dance, or like the people who can't body pop, who've maybe just started.
Imagine me posing to Lamb of God.
Exactly. So that's the kind of thing to always get that opinion on what your physique would look good to. And also, I think as well, it's a lot easier to pose to a slower routine track. So, like, if you are more of a beginner to competing and things like that, like, work with a coach and someone who knows a little bit about this. Of like, I'll often get clients be like, I really like this music. Like, what do you think about this for a routine? I'm like, no, definitely not. I was like, because I've seen you do your quarter turns and you can hardly turn around in a square, let alone body pop. So it's kind of like, I guess that honesty from that point, but also, as I said, it has to be fitting for how you look as a competitor.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so the last thing,
I've got
judging.
one as well.
Okay, cool. Okay. Go on, you shoot.
Go on then. So what is do you think, like, not say your biggest bugbear, but like maybe the most difficult pose for you to hit, and ones you've seen other guys hit that you think you've got no business doing that shot?
Okay, so what's the shot that I struggle with? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. And ones you just like, you hate when people hit it, and you're like, oh God.
Oh. Have you got anything while I think?
I've got something. I've got.
Right, go on.
So
go on.
It's the 3/4 rear double bicep shot.
Right.
Everyone thinks that they can do, and you have to be a very special kind of poser to be able to pull that off and it look good.
Yeah.
So what I'm talking about is that pose, like the Arnold 3/4, the Arnold one, right? But if you just try that in your bedroom and record it and try and do it, it is flipping impossible. Like, I can do most poses, but it's like when people come out and they're like leaning over on the side like they're going to fall over, and then they throw a 3/4 double bicep in there. Okay. It's horrendous. And every time, I've not seen one person who I know of, maybe I can't remember. I think Shane Raymond does it well. And I think a couple of the pro guys are quite good at it, but I've not ever seen any amateurs do it where I'm like, that's class. That looks great.
You've got to have so much upper back, delt.
Yes.
And mass.
Flexibility as well.
Yeah.
Because, like, I can do a 3/4 one front on this way, right? But that still absolutely kills to hit that properly. But if you used to say do it the other way around, like I said, I've tried it a few times, so I think that would look really cool. I could do it because I think I would probably pull it off. And then every time I take a picture of it, it looks hilarious.
Yeah.
It looks like I've gone to hit the pose and I've tripped over.
Right. Well, okay, so I'll go with my bugbear one. And it's similar because it's both me and you have the opinion of more classic. People who try and be more classic. So that maybe that looks good. But whatever did that, and whatever threw that in it, and then did that. But actually, it's not just about that. There's a particular one. I'm not going to mention the name. This person will know because he's very bad for it, and I keep telling him off. I'm going to do a shot. Let's say I'm going to do a front double, and it looks really good. But you know what's going to make it better? If I just take my foot and I just put it over here somewhere and just plant it down. So that now I had a really nice symmetrical shot, and but actually I'm just now like this with my foot in a different postcode. Now it can work if you can actually do it and twist. The way I hit a front double now is because I've got no arms and I like to take away from it. I'll just twist my hips a little bit, and there you go. But someone will have seen in the head, oh, I've seen that person do a really good pose and it's really classic. I'll do it as well, but they do not have the physique to do it, you know.
Yeah.
I've seen that a lot with people who sent me pictures, friends and stuff like that, and I said, well, why are you doing that? I said, oh, because I've seen this person do it, looks really good. But it looks shit on you, so stop doing it.
Stop doing it, yeah. So I think you get the same bugbear people who doesn't help with like competitions like Nick Strength and Power doing the most classic guys, and one of the compulsory shots is vacuum.
Right.
Because not everyone looks good doing a vacuum, myself included. I can, but it looks rubbish. Yeah. And people they're like, all right, okay, so like you've got a fairly good looking set of abdominals, but I'm just going to suck my organs in because classic.
Yeah. It's become this weird cinemas thing with classic bodybuilding. Now I can do one, and I did one in 2017 because I had that worry about me loose skin. So I thought, well, I'll tell you what, I'll just hide it by sucking it in. But then when I didn't have that problem anymore, I canned it because it looks shit. But if you're Chris Bumstead and you've got that crazy chest, rib cage, and you throw it in with your other ab and thigh, then yeah. But it's weird how it's become that kind of
the side, and that still looks brilliant.
Yeah,
right. I'd probably do it to the side because I've got my rib cage doesn't go like this. It goes.
Okay. I want to get that checked. I might want to get that checked out.
That's actually a triple hernia. But that's quite funny because, as I said, it's like it doesn't necessarily. It always tends to be the guys do it in the natural feds as well, who are the stringier guys.
Right.
and they can suck it in because they have no waist anyway.
I think that's my overarching one, and you get it in a lot of natural bodybuilders. So you get a lot of natural bodybuilders who think that they're also classic bodybuilders because they just not got a lot of muscle. So it's, I'm not a big mass monster, so I'm a classic bodybuilder. But you're not even a bodybuilder. You're just small. So just going like this and going like this.
Yeah.
It's not gonna, it's not gonna make it any bigger. So sorry to everyone that does that. I've got
this thing.
What?
No, that's right. Yeah, I was gonna say that's my view.
Pose then that I was it one that I struggle with. Would you say? Is that what we're?
Yeah, maybe one you struggle with or whatever. Yeah.
I like to think that. So I'll certainly when I like to practice posing a lot when I'm prepping, so I don't have any issues with any particular shot. Although from doing sessions with you in the famous Unity light, it's the one thing that you got me to do is, and it's really hard to, when I've tried to teach beginners how to pose, it's okay, well, what I want you to do is I want your, let's take a side tricep or a side chest. I want your knees and legs to be facing the back of the stage, but actually your entire rest of your body facing the front. And you try and tell that to people, and then you try and contort them in such a way that they're looking at you like, "Are you mad?" Like,
it really, you know, it's almost like people do what we call lazy quarter turns. Just do them in your mirror at home and don't really try.
Yeah.
And it's very easy. Like, yeah, this is a piece of piss. And otherwise, it's like, right, okay, well, now I'll show you how to do them to get more out of your physique. Yeah. And all of a sudden, you're a puddle of mess on the floor because it's like, I didn't realize it's on my back's hurting. It's like, yeah, because you're actually posing properly. You're trying to twist your body in a way that is showing new dimensions to your physique. Yeah. It's going to make your waist look the smallest. So the moment you turn your hips round, you then have a wide waist because you're pushing your knee that way, but your shoulders and chest are going that way. So that's not so much an art form in itself, but it takes practice to get good at that, and it is uncomfortable, but it should look effortless, and that's the difference, really.
Yeah, that's something I find difficult, and everyone does. So it just requires practice, So, sure. and just finally to add to that is, anyone that is competing, then do reach out to someone like yourself or Darren or anybody that offers coaching.
986@gmail.com.
Just subject line bodybuilding, because you can look good posing in your own mirror, and even as well, you might think that you've got a pose that's not very good. So this week, actually, from training at Hobbit Hole, shout out number 3 maybe for Chris Edge. We kind of sandwich it with because we slagged him off in the middle for missing you on the spot. We said something nice at the beginning, I think, I can't remember now, and then we'll say something nice at the end, so it's like a nice sandwich for Chris. Yeah. He thought that his lat spread wasn't very good. He was like, my back's... Chris Edge is known for a good back. It's very, very detailed. But in his head, it was not very wide. So he'd been showing me his check-in picture, and I said, well, why are your elbows touching the front wall?
Yeah.
You can make yourself look wider.
Basically, yeah.
So we paused yesterday, and he did his lat spread and literally got his arms and pulled them back a little bit, took a picture. Anyone that follows Chris on social media will see he posted the picture. It was like, oh my God, I got back.
I'd say that is a lot of that is posing, because it's like to have that good a rear double. To arguably I can stand up with most people. So because he's got that level of detail and graininess to his back and shoulders. But as you said, it's almost like 2 different poses.
Right.
It is 2 different poses, but it's 2 different calibers of shots. Right. And
you can see, and knowing how good the rear double bicep is, then you think to yourself, well, the lat spread shouldn't look like that way. So what's going on? And it was just a little cue. And what I'm getting at is that you might think you're the best poser in the world, or you might think you're not. You might think you're terrible at posing, or you might think that you're a weak bodybuilder, you've got weak body parts. In reality, what you actually need is just a little bit of assistance, an extra eye, someone who knows a little bit and it's really useful. So bodybuilding1986@gmail.com.
Gmail.com. What did you say there? But did you say a little Q?
A little Q, yeah.
A little Q, don't we?
We know a little.
Q.
We know something called Qe with little calves.
Shout out to Q because Aaron just called you little without you knowing about it. So he did it for himself.
Small guy.
So unlucky. Anyways, so yeah, so I hope that gives a little bit of an insight into you know, a little bit of how the judging works. So you know, to work on all those three things. Don't spend your time practicing the worm. Spend your time practicing quarter turns. Yeah.
We'll wrap it up. Quick fire. I had one thing to ask, but we'll just do it really quick. I've got mine, so you better not steal it. And if you do, this will be a really quick segment. Most difficult class you've ever judged?
Ooh.
And why?
Oh, there's been a lot. There's been a lot, to be fair. I mean, obviously, the I didn't judge the lightweight class, obviously, at the Britain because I wasn't judging. But I do remember there being at certain qualifiers or even finals some novice classes which were just ridiculous. Where you come out and you're like, oh, novice always is that one because it's not weight categoried.
Yeah.
You've got like, you know, 5'2" guy with loads of muscle, and then you've got a 6'4" guy with loads of muscle and good conditioning. And then like it's almost impossible sometimes how it comes out. You're like, what on earth has gone on?
So as not to go on it for too long, you'll remember this one. Do you remember it was the 2017, I think it was Central. Was it the one where James beat Opio? Do you remember the novice from that with Dan Sutcliffe?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of. Because one of my clients who I coach now was in that show.
Right.
And he was like 7th. And arguably he could have won at another show.
The top 7 easily could have won that show. And Dan Sutcliffe, I believe, took 5th. And then won novice at British finals and went to Worlds.
Really, yeah.
Yeah, like, honestly, there was guys in that class that just, it was mind-blowing. And it's poignant to remember that you can turn up to a bodybuilding show and be the one person in the class. And then you're the blah, 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 lightweight, middleweight, whatever champion. And you can put it on your Insta bio. Or you can be in a class of 10 of the best bodybuilders that are ever going to be on the stage and be 10th. Can't do anything about it.
No, exactly.
Cannot be judged any more fairly, you know, so.
Exactly. And that's always the case at Northern because you've got the guys who are maybe too fat, central, or whatever. Right. Do you know what I mean? It's always like the later qualifiers, isn't it? It always tends to be that case. But yeah, you're right. And do you know what? Another thing without going on just too much toward the end, but I always find women's athletic very difficult to judge when you get, or a women's figure class that you get people who turn up who look like they should be in athletic, and then you get the athletic who look like they should be in figure. It's like everyone you'd want ideally to be maybe a little bit taller, a bit thinner, a bit more conditioned in athletic, and then they all turn up like big figure girls, and you're like, well, I can't judge the criteria. I can only judge what's in front of me. So it makes it very difficult because men's bodybuilding, it's easy. It's the same every time.
Yeah.
You know, it's the biggest, most conditioned, probably best shape combination of all three. But if you've got like, you need to judge the best X frame and everyone is straight up, straight down. You're like, well, no one has it. No one fills the criteria. So what do I do? And that's probably the biggest, most difficult thing to do as a judge, I think, is to then, because it's like it's then trying to explain to them afterwards why they came third and the person who won came first. It's like, right, well, okay.
I'll tell you what then, let's wrap it up there and maybe we'll do a women's judging episode at some point because I think that's it's probably an episode in of itself.
Okay. Yep, and we can also judge Kara's technique on getting flapjacks out of the cupboard. So
see if there's any better next week.
Shortbread cookies.
Sorry.
Yeah.
On that bombshell.
Yep.
Natty Muscle Radio.
There's always another level.
Cheers, Daz.
Cheers, Darren.